word out for you. This is from Timothy Pizza. My friend and I all decided to get off our butts and start a podcast. Make a thing! Well done. We're a stand-up comic and electronic musician. We're from Oakland. Podcast is called Fuck Everything, Fuck You, or FEFY. We're a couple weirdos who never really fit in. We interview people with comedic irreverence or for hilarious results. The name is intense. We assure you we're just here to make you laugh. So go to fuckeverythingfuckyou.com and give it a shot. Thanks, Sean and Tim of fuckeverythingfuckyou.com. This episode is David Spade. He's promoting his new memoir, Almost Interesting. It is available now wherever books are sold. That could be anywhere. That could be digitally. That could be in the real world. It could be both. You could get a copy digitally. You could get a copy to hold in your hand and be like, this is what a book feels like. Book? Am I saying that correctly? Dave's a good guy, and I've known him for a really long time, but never really sat down and chatted with him at great length. Usually, like, you have friends that you see at parties. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. All right, take care. So it's another reason why the podcast is good. So I get to catch up with people that I always want to have a conversation with. This forces that to happen. This episode is also brought to you by See It. That's C.it. How many times do you have friends telling you about new shows to watch, and then you completely intend to watch, but when it matters, you're forgetting it? This is See It. It is the answer to eliminating the nagging feeling that you had something better to watch than whatever it was you were watching. You're just flipping around, zoning out again to some weird supernatural show where they don't actually discover ghosts, but always tantalize you with the fact that they might discover ghosts. I have yet to believe one EVP thing that I've seen on any ghost show, but it doesn't matter. Maybe there are other shows that I should be watching. Well, see, it's going to remind me of those things. You can check it out for yourself, c.it/Nerdist. Whatever your favorite shows are, it's always you set your watch list on your laptop, your tablet, or your phone. Then it'll remind you. It'll help you discover shows. You can check them out. So go there, c.it/Nerdist. And now here's the Nerdist Podcast episode number 769 with Mr. David Spade. Kitty.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Now she's back in. She's putting the headphones on. She's checked back in. Oh. You know, sometimes this job is painful, Katie. You knew that when you signed up for this. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get all worked up in front of you.
That's what I've been telling you. That's what I've been telling you.
She's got a little Tina Fey.
She does.
Is it Tina Fey?
A little bit. A little bit. You don't have to wear the headphones.
See her when she wears a hoodie. It's ridiculous.
Why don't you use earbuds?
Who likes to wear headphones?
You just changed your world. Oh yeah, that's the cheaper solution.
Let's see, $19 or
my glasses hurt
$3,000
when
in
I wear
temporary
these
blindness.
big headphones.
That'll help me.
Just get some earbuds. We're not recording music. It doesn't have to. You don't have to worry about two levels.
Really ride the levels that hard.
Yeah.
Oh.
David Spade.
Yeah, I laugh loudly because I enjoy myself.
I feel like the first time I met you.
Are we going?
Yep, done.
It's already happening.
This is
happened the second
happening?
You walked in, yeah.
I need some powder.
The movie?
Final touches. I am powder, by the way. I saw powder, and I feel this. I can't wait to see this kid get beat up every 5 seconds. And then I got so sucked into it halfway. I'm like, he's in the locker, trying to protect him. I'm so much like powder. I'm so fragile. It's so horrible.
But I feel like the first time I met you was probably in the 1900s. It was probably in the 90s.
You're not as old as me, oh, man. It's getting bad.
Yeah.
But you probably saw me when you were a child in a crib.
No. I think I met you when I was working at MTV, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was it, Singled Out?
That's right.
Oh my God, I forget all about that. That's right.
I mean, all the 90s stuff it feels like.
Was it with Jenny that whole time? Oh, you did Jenny and Carmen.
Carmen Electra, that's right. Yeah, Jenny left to do a sitcom, and Carmen was there. And
wow.
And then I was unemployed for a while after that.
How long was that, though?
The run was
a good run.
95 to 98, which is actually pretty good for an MTV show.
You do 9 a day.
We did 65 episodes in what was it, like in just a handful of weeks, we'd do like 4 a day.
Jeez.
We'd do 2 and then take a break for lunch and then do
Where
2
are you
more.
corralling 50 single men and women?
By the way, you never run out of idiots. That's the beauty of The Bachelor. It was like The Bachelor.
Well, the best part about it was the first season of the show. No one knew what the show was,
Sure.
so to get that many people to show up, even with audience coordinators, so they had a van. And they basically just sent our PAs to like a mall. They're like, "Hey, we're doing a show. Get in the van." And some people were like, "Okay,"
Yeah.
and people just like fucking got in the van.
Oh, so that's how the Bang Bus works?
It works
in
with
the early
kids.
days.
Get in the van, okay.
Bang Bus. Bang Bus always confounds me. I'm like,
It's-
where is this chick?
Miami.
Oh, it
it
is?
Miami?
That's what it seems like, yeah.
I always wonder, do they prep them? Because no one can act this well. You know what I mean?
No, it's. I'm sure. I just assumed
Are some
everything in
real?
porn is staged.
I don't know that some
I
are
can't
real. I
be
feel like
real.
I
none of them are
assumed
real.
everything in porn is staged because there'd have to be a certain point where, let's just say it wasn't staged, and you met some random person, you roll them, and you're like, "Hey, get in the van," and they're like, "Okay," and they're like, "Can we fuck you for $100?" And they're like, "Sure." At a certain point, that person would have to sign a release. Like, I just feel like
guess,
they would.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, they have to prove they're 18. They're going to need to hand over their license.
Now, it doesn't take it out for me because I get really turned on by paperwork and business
I was
practices.
about to say,
yeah,
when
yeah,
I'm whacking
so-
off, paperwork slows things down in my head. Like
God, I
a
bet she
picture.
signed so
I wonder
many
if she
forms.
initialed
The longer the name of that form is, the
press
harder I
hard,
get.
4 copies. I'm like, oh.
Ooh, it's a 1043 EZ.
She
yeah.
got it in a PDF
on
form.
the back of one of those, van seats or signing stuff. She's like, I gotta get back to Sunglass Hut.
Your bare ass is basically like a fingerprint, so it's just like
Yeah.
everything. The whole van seat is a capacitive
Something
surface.
about it works though for me.
Yeah,
The Bang Bus, something magical. All the, separately a van, it all doesn't work for me. When it all comes together, I go, something about the Bang Bus.
I
Separately.
think I'm bothered that it's not an actual bus. I think I'm just.
It's a Bang van.
It is
Yeah.
more of a bang van. Yeah.
Bang Bus is catchier.
The alliteration. Yeah.
Hookier.
It is.
I mean, you could call it a vag van and run around like that. There's some
Oh, well,
alliteration there.
Now you're the Plow King to their
Yeah.
Mr.
Mr.
Plow.
Plow, yeah.
So you need to go.
Is his name Mr. Plow?
No,
I don't know that much.
It should be.
that's a Simpsons reference, but yeah, I guess that totally would have worked for Mr.
Shit.
Plow. Call Mr. Plow. That's my name. The name
When the
again is
Plow
Mr.
King
Plow.
comes out, yeah.
Yeah, Plow King. But when I first went to, I went to UCLA. 89 to 93.
Oh.
And I was in the UCLA Comedy Club at UCLA.
Okay.
And when the president of the UCLA Comedy Club left, he handed me his notebook and said, "This is all the comedians' numbers who we can call to come perform in the dorms."
Oh, wow.
You were one of those people.
Oh, great. Did I do it?
You did. Well,
Oh.
you did. You did. You did it
fun.
for... You did it for him. Like, it was like a year before. It was right before you booked SNL, I think.
Oh, so it was like doing a college gig.
It was like doing a college
Love
gig,
it.
yeah. But it wasn't a lot of money. I mean, it was maybe just a couple hundred bones.
Yeah, I did a lot of college gigs when I started SNL. Before I tried to get on NACA. Do you remember what this was?
NACA's like a
That's like a windfall, isn't it?
Still going strong.
Like,
It's
you get on
amazing.
that and people go, I'm getting $2,500 a night. I'm like, for one show? I couldn't believe it. And he goes, and they booked 30. I go, what? I couldn't. I'm getting 400 drive up to. So I tried to get NACA, could not yet. Send your little VHS in, did not work. And then I started doing these colleges. And one I remember is when I got on Saturday Night Live, a couple people remember. Thank you. I thought I heard applause. I didn't hear anything, I guess. My imagination, yeah.
So I was just watching Bang Bus.
I was new, and I was probably a middle act, but they want you to headline, because now you're known. So we'd go out, Adam and Rob. We were all the stand-ups, so we'd go out. Dana was making a killing. Dana Carvey, for the younger viewers.
Oh my God! Of course
David
he was.
Spade is talking for the younger viewers. Whoever he is. And this was, I think it was called Sacred Heart University. And, do you do stand-up or you don't?
Yeah.
You do.
Most
so
weekends.
when you do stand-up, you're told for the audience to do whatever time. Like an opener does this much, middle does 25 to 30. Headliner usually does 45 to an hour. Is that fair in a club?
Mm-hmm.
Now, some guys love to go long. I do not. I would rather go shorter because I know I have a huge ego, but I just do not like to sit there and bore them forever. I like to I like to keep it sort of where the jokes are still good, you know, because the longer you do, the less chance they're all winners.
Right.
But some guys you cannot get off. So I was doing some college gig, and they go 45 to an hour. And I go, great. And it was a couple grand. It was a huge gig for me. So I took a car all the way out there. I do it, and I'm clanking so horribly, and I had my little set list that I buzzed through the whole act in 43 minutes. And this has never happened. I'm like, I did everything end to end to end. Usually about an hour, but with no laughs and pure crickets. I was like going, hey, hey. And then I remember people go, mess with the crowd. I'm like, where do you go to school? They're like, here. I'm like, okay, that's there. I talked to the crowd. That didn't burn as much time as I thought. And then I had 43, and then they had to pay me my, $4,000 or something, and they brought me in and said, you didn't do your time. You're supposed to do 45, and they didn't pay me. And I went home and cried to my manager. I mean, I was wrong in a way, but the thing is, they can't not pay you because you're not funny, which what they wanted to do.
Right.
So they found a little hook there.
2 minutes.
Yeah, and I think I got half the money, but wherever it was very humiliating.
Oh my God. Well, colleges. So I remember when I first started doing colleges, and I thought, well, this is going to be great. I remember being in college. I loved to laugh.
Yeah.
And you go and you find out a lot of them, if they don't know, especially if they don't know who you are, they're kind of tight, and there's a lot of things that if you say, they go, ooh, like because you're a grown up saying things that they're not used to.
And you don't know how dirty you can be, and sometimes they tell you got to tone it down. And Janine Garofalo and I have another book called Boring Stories, and this one's in it. That Janine and I, we did a naval base, and it was 3,000 Navy cadets, and they said you cannot swear. And I think it was maybe even Jon Stewart maybe back then. So we all did our sets, and Janine was last, and you went to meet the general after, and he paid you. So, and he decided if you were getting paid. If you were good enough, whatever.
Have you ever gotten a blowjob from a superior officer?
So, no. Are you asking me?
No, I'm just quoting A Few Good Men.
So I went, and then I did my crummy act. And then she went, and she said, fuck, accidentally. And they freaked out. And everyone stopped. And she was like, oh, fuck it. I'm not getting paid anyway now. And then she killed because she didn't care. And that's what they want to hear anyway.
Right.
So everyone's laughing hysterically. And then afterwards, I went in. I'm like, jealous that she killed. I'm like, well, you're not paying her, right? Trying to fan the flames. Should I take her money?
You go saddle up next to the general on his side of the desk, and you're, well, sorry, Janine.
I follow the rules.
John and I will split your money, but I hope you learned something. And so they still paid her, and I was like, and she got to kill.
Well, they always tell you, like, whenever you go to like, there's some universities that you go to, and they're usually, if it's a religious university, they will say, like, don't swear. I did one when they were like, don't talk about the Catholic Church. But I went to Catholic school, and halfway through the set, it's really hard. It's hard to not address it because it's a thing that you all have in common, and it feels like,
and it always works.
Yes, and so I did, and it killed because that's what they wanted to hear.
Did you get in trouble for
and I got the stink eye afterwards.
Yeah.
They were like, you did exactly what we asked you not to do.
That's corporate gigs too for the audience. I wouldn't tell these stories, but it's sort of interesting to know that when you're a comic and you get these gigs, corporate gigs are true. I mean, most of the time it's clean, and it's especially nowadays because they're always about lawsuits. Because they had some comic and it was like, who eats pussy? It's like, if it's very dirty, that's who they had once.
Right.
And every joke is like F word meaning like effing. And so when I would do it, you could throw in some fucks without them even noticing. If your act is not super rough,
Right.
You don't really hear it. But when it's really pointed and harsh, that's what they're scared of. So they give you all these warnings. And I don't even know if I've ever had a problem. They might have said, there's a couple in there, but it was still fun. If everyone has a good time there, they're adults. They usually pay.
Well, corporate gigs can be a little rough because you're basically going into their bubble, and they can be a little territorial. A lot of times, maybe they're drunk or it's
you
just
gotta
like
win them over. Yeah,
it's like going into someone's house and they don't know you, and you're like, "Hey, everyone, I know you don't know me, but pay attention to me."
Right, when you start doing personal jokes, like they always want you, they go, "Hey, the VP has 3 balls and beats his wife. Say something. It's funny. Say something." hey, Randy over there has a lot of combs on his desk. So they're always with the combs.
I have alopecia, and it's usually something that you're not.
And then you
talk
about Randy, and no one knows who he is, and you're like, what am I doing?
Randy's upset.
Yeah, and Randy storms out.
Yeah, it's really rough.
They always go out and do. We do. And I went out with Sinbad once, and I was headlining. Why I don't know. And Sinbad was opening, and he went out and annihilated for a solid 45 about their work. He was like pure corporate sales comedian. He was like, now is it Q3 yet over here? All right, now who's got the sales? And I'm like, what's he talking about? And then I get up and immediately just go, dogs are funny. And I go into my act and everyone's like, what? You don't know us.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Sinbad knows us.
That's why it's hard sometimes to follow crowd work with your jokes, because when you're not talking about them anymore, then sometimes they can lose interest. Yeah, as soon as they're like, "Oh, it can be about us," when you stop doing that, they're like, "Oh,
they're waiting for you to go after him." Oh, my sweater. What is he gonna say?
Dogs. What even are those?
Yeah, and you don't care at all about them. You just stare ahead.
What did you audition with SNL? Like, knowing that they were pulling on stand-ups at the time, what do you audition with when you're supposed to go in and do characters?
Not good at characters, as we found over the seasons. I got in by like a loophole. I mean, it was really Dennis Miller helped. He was one of my favorite comics. I did the Young Comedian special on HBO, which used to be a pretty big deal.
Huge deal.
I talk about that in the book a little bit, just because I don't know. It was interesting to me that I tried to get on 3 years in a row, and back when it was 3-4 networks, maybe Fox just started, and then you've got HBO, which is really the only game in town for cable. There wasn't A&E for the younger listeners. There wasn't 75 channels or 1,000.
There wasn't Snapchat for the younger listeners.
Yeah, there wasn't cell phones. For real. Yeah. No, I can't even remember that far back. But I was there, and I did stand-up, and I finally got on that. I mean, I would lose out to like Richard Belzer. I'm like, I'm actually a young comedian, folks. I'm 23. I'm from Arizona. I have long, blonde, white hair. I looked different, could not pull it through, and then Brad Gray was the producer, Brillstein Gray, and Dennis Miller was the host. And that was when I barely got on. They had 5. They picked the 5, and I was 6.
Oh, my God.
I was like crushed again. And then Dennis and Brad told him, you know what, make it 6, and everyone will do shorter set.
Oh, my God.
So they
awesome.
let me jam in. And then Warren Thomas, who was a comedian back then.
Passed away. Yeah.
And he did crowd work, and he did not prep that much, and he just started doing the crowd, and just one night it doesn't work as well, and they cut his time down, and they gave me my full set. So when it aired, I got a chunk out of it, and then Schneider and I, off of that, got auditions for SNL with Tom Kenny, and we went to New York and did Catch a Rising Star. Bombed again. I mean, it's just so crazy. I bombed my way into SNL because Dennis goes, Spudley, if you kill too hard, it's a bit of a red flag for these guys. They don't like some road hack. And I go, so don't do good? Like I was right before I walked up. I go, wait, what do? I don't get laughs? It didn't make any sense. But what he meant is they're looking at the writing of the jokes, which I can see now. But back then I just was like, who did the best? It was all that. So Tom Kenny did the best. And Rob and I didn't do well at all. And, it's probably 25 people there. It's one of those nights where it's just sort of like you're just talking to yourself. So you're basically telling your jokes as written. They're almost like reading them.
Right.
It's like, here's a joke. Do you think that's
doing a live reading
well
of my
put
jokes
together?
tonight.
Yes, it's a live reading. And they were like, okay, we'll bring you on as writers and performers. And then, but it was more in the writing tip. They didn't really want me to write myself in for the first 2-3 years. And then Rob started to get on more. And then Farley, Chris Rock, Sandler. I was like, what about Spade? Little Spudley over here.
Was it Hollywood Minute? Is that what broke you through?
Yeah. I did that receptionist and UR. I mean, I was in little bits and dribs and drabs and update bits, but nothing that was like catching too hard. And I was always on the brink of getting fired. They would always call. Lauren would call at the end of the season. I don't know about David. Is he really fit in here? Is he working? And so, musings. Are you talking to me, sir? He's like, yeah, he gets louder. Oh, yeah, David, I don't know. Hello?
You're Dopplering, Lauren.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Not getting you. But he would call Brad, and they would talk about it. And I just would come back and try to do it again. And I wasn't a super character-y guy. I wasn't super great writer for sketches and hooks and all that. I was just doing like my jokes like I do now. It's like attitude and stuff, and it wasn't the place for it. But ultimately, I thought maybe I should do the news. I was thinking maybe that would be good. That was my decision. I didn't run it by anybody. Hey, who's doing the news now? I think you should leave. So I finally did a Hollywood Minute. Bob Odenkirk, remember him from his new show.
Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell.
And
Was Bill writing on at that time too? Was Bill Odenkirk writing?
No.
Bill never
wrote for us?
I don't
No,
think
Bill
so.
Simpson's.
Oh, Bill Simpsons. Yeah.
It was Conan O'Brien and Smigel and Bob Odenkirk, Jack Handy, Downey.
Jesus Christ.
By the way, that's why. How do I get anything on? These guys are the best guys. Like
Absolutely.
it's unreal, and they all went. Everyone's in Harvard, and then Mike Myers is writing. Chris Rock writes his own stuff. Sandler and Dana, and you go, okay, so I got to beat all them and then be better. I can't even be as good. So for the first year was just trying not to embarrass myself and read through like. Just don't have people go, what the fuck who wrote this? Look around. I go, because no one's helping you. They want you to die. If you get on, they don't get on. So that's what everyone talks about. There's that quiet, palpable like tension of if you leave, we'll all be fine.
Right.
You know what I mean? The cast is getting fatter.
Yeah.
There was like 6 feature players and the cast members.
But when you get on, though, that means you earned it. You really earned it.
Jeez, it's so tough. Then I see Sandler pull his guitar case. I go, oh, fuck. Because every song, and I'm like, he can't have another catchy one that kills. And he's like, red hooded sweatshirt. I'm like, God damn it. Singing it all week. I'm stuck in my head. I go, oh, no, it's going to kill. So these guys were all off and running, and I just... Not feeling sorry for myself. I'm just saying the reality was it took me just longer to catch up. Hollywood Minute really helped. Lauren sort of turned on me there and turned with me and said, why don't you do that again next week? I was like, oh, shit, yeah. And then 2 weeks later, Hollywood Minute, maybe? And I was like, oh, sure. And then that helped me get in a few more sketches. Then by the end, I stayed a year too long, like a senior that goes to community college and comes back, because Will Ferrell came in and that's how long it was. He was just coming there. Sherry O'Terry, they were all great. But I just had Lauren goes, I'll just give you a 5-minute chunk. You do whatever. So I really didn't do sketches. I just stayed and had one bit that Hugh Fink, this writer I brought in, and we just...
Yeah, I know Hugh.
We wrote just bits every week. Like, I do field pieces, which I figured out I hated. It's so cringy to go out there, hey, everybody. Like, I was like Billy Eichner, It's like, it's just not my thing. I get so cringy. I don't want to embarrass people, and I feel stupid. So... But we wrote. That's when I got the tattoo from Sean Penn. I was scrambling every week. Even then, I had all week to think about one thing. I couldn't come up with shit.
It is fucking hard. It's really
hard.
It's really hard because it's basically like a test.
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's going to work until you do it on live television in front of millions of people.
And you go 20 years of SNL. How many sketches they wrote? You can't be like any of them, for starters. And nothing like anyone's doing this week. And then they always wanted it topical, like, why this week? And you go, oh. Like one time Farley was in this meeting. I put that in there. It's a dumb story in the book about Farley. That you hear about that pitch meeting on SNL. So we all cram into it's not this much of a dump, where we're doing this. But
well, that's good.
This is like Lauren's office. Exactly. And this is probably a little longer. And every cast member and writer crams in. And then the host sits there. Like Jim Downey's here. And you're Lauren. And you've got the most room. And then we're all jammed. And over there, and so he just goes around, he just eats popcorn and goes, anything for Tom Hanks? And then we all go, hey, I had a thing, a caveman afraid of caves. It's like fake ideas because no one's thought of anything yet. But it makes the host feel like you're working, And it could just be like a wispy idea, like, dancers breathe really hard when they finish the number. They're like, like they freeze. It's hard to say on the radio, but you could just say that to get a laugh. And you're never going to write it because it's only one joke.
Right.
But the host is like, these guys are really thinking. These guys are real thinkers. Meanwhile, we're all worried about Joe Pesci from last week. We just finished that show, and now we're like, Tom Hanks, fucking start from scratch again. And so I remember it was like Alec Baldwin sitting there. And then when you got to Farley, he was always so nervous because he's, he doesn't know what he's doing. And he's got like boogers on a fucking napkin. He's scribbling. I go, is this your pitch? He goes, I don't know. And so he goes, I got one this week. I go, okay. So everyone's waiting and he's pulling on the shag carpet with his fingers and sweating and yanking on his hair. And I'm like, oh boy. Because he knew he had this big pitch. And he's like, anything for Alec, Chris? And then Chris goes, he's he's like having a heart attack, and he goes, "Hey, Alec Baldwin." He calls him both names like a psycho. And he goes, "Hey, Alec Baldwin. I was thinking, this weekend I saw that movie, Marty." And Lauren goes, "With Ernest Borgnine." He goes, yeah. He goes, I was thinking, do something about that. And everyone's just staring, and Lauren goes, "Well, this is the week. Everyone's going to be looking for our Marty sketch." It's like a movie from 1954 about, he's social activist. I'm like, what are you fucking talking? When we walked out of there, I go, "You gave him that? Make up something from the last 10 years, anything." Alec Baldwin's freaking out. He thinks they're writing a Marty sketch. I go, "By the way, who's writing the sketch?" He goes, "I don't fucking know." Because he would never write. He goes, "You can have it if you want." I go, "Oh, let me run with it, thanks." Otherwise, Alec Baldwin, Marty? He goes, "I didn't work out all the details yet." So that's what they were so stressful. I was just giving shitty ideas too. I'm like, oh, you're just looking around the room, a brick wall bit. You just don't know what to say. And Lauren's always like,
but your
disappointed.
Brain is you got to be so fried.
Was there anybody who was annoyingly good at those pitches?
Frank and Al Franken, who I don't really
Senator Franken
get along with, yeah, but he would pitch pretty good, but he would laugh so hard at his own jokes. He thought they were funny. He'd go, and everyone goes, "Fuck, that sounds like a 4-star idea." Oh, wait, you pitched it, so maybe you're a little biased in your voting. But he would say it and laugh his fucking ass off, and everyone would go, "Okay." But it was hard. Yeah, Smigel always was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He was about the best home run hitter. And he was sort of quiet about it, but you just go, "Ugh, I wish he'd write me something." Because whenever he locks into something, he's very good. And Jack Handy always had a weird idea, and you thought it was a fake idea, but he would write it. And it would be very clever, and you'd be like, oh, remember he had Happy Fun Ball?
Yes, Happy Fun Ball.
Yeah.
Do not taunt Happy Fun Ball.
Do not taunt him. It's being dropped on our troops in Iraq. They had so many funny things about Happy Fun Ball. Sometimes the commercial parodies, we're all over the place here, but the commercial parodies were really fun to write. Bad Idea Jeans. I think that might have been Schneider, too.
Oh, that was Schneider's?
Great one.
It was a great sketch.
Oh,
what was it? So I didn't wear a condom, but I thought, when am I going to be in Haiti again?
That was mine.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good joke.
I was going to wear a condom. I thought, when am I going to be in Haiti? By the way, I didn't even get it. They had to explain to me. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I go, they give me the dud? And then all these huge black guys come in. They go, "Hey, how about 5-on-5?"
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Bad idea jeans.
Classic. Yeah, I was always trying to write commercial parodies. It was like a sneaky way, backdoor in to get on the show or feel like you wrote something or were contributing somehow. I wrote Chia Head. That was the first one.
Yeah, I remember Chia Head.
And then how about they made a Chia Head? A real
one. They did. Yeah, they still do, I think.
Exactly. Stole everything I did. I made the box. I made everything. And they were like,
thanks.
Hey, good idea. Sometimes commercial parodies are so close to real ones. They're funny.
Well, also, they go to places that those companies were like, oh, we can't talk about it. But if you do it and it becomes popular, they're like, look, see, it was a good idea. You're basically doing a sales pitch for them.
Yeah. There was a lot of.
Unfortunately, the Woomba never became a thing. Do you remember the Woomba? Do you remember the Woomba?
No, what's that?
Wasn't Woomba it was I feel like it was a Tina Fey one where it was like a Roomba for your vagina, and it was like it would go down your pants.
Oh, that's funny.
Then there was another one in the 80s that was like it was invented by it was a birth control device made by NORAD called SAC, the Strategic Air Contraceptive. And there was this like radar screen, and you saw these sperms, and you saw this radar screen sweeping, and you saw the sperms slowly disappearing as it fired smoke.
Those make them so hilarious.
Yeah, I mean it's.
I think Jim Downey said the key to commercial parodies is usually a non-existent problem, ineffective solution. And so you always think that.
Was Hartman a guy who always was just locked in right away? Because there's some guy. There's usually one person on each season who is so. They seem so unshakable.
Yeah,
like Farrell seemed like one of those guys.
He was the most solid Hartman of our guys. Kevin Nealon's a very even-keeled guy that was always a solid writer. I always liked his stand-up. But he did Update then, so he was in sketches less. But Phil Hartman was for sure the solid guy and tragically died after that. And by his wife. I mean,
Yeah,
if you
I remember.
guys remember that story.
Absolutely remember it.
Well, the two kids were home. I think she shot him and then she shot herself or something.
Right.
But Phil was such a great guy there. And it's a little hard to talk about because Phil was one of those ones where he was so nice and so good and really talented to look up to. I mean, Farley was his own, monster, but Phil was just so good at acting, and he was a good writer too. He wrote stuff, and he was the one where you look at as the most. They called him the glue because he was just always, you plant him in any sketch, so solid, even the most subtle, or he was playing a dad or something. But he changed so much you could put him in anything, and he was always killing it. I like that. I remember one. It's so stupid. It's all memories. It's like the book. I'm just reading out loud, but this isn't in there. So
it's an exclusive.
Don't buy it.
Don't buy the book. What are you saying?
But
Boy, I'd like to read that story.
dumb
I
ones,
can't get the
that's
book.
fine. All the good ones aren't in there.
Wish that were in print somewhere.
But Kevin Nealon did one Waiters Without a Pad, which I thought was a fake ID. Fake idea again.
Yeah.
But it was, I think, Phil Hartman and Victoria Jackson
Jackson. Yeah.
on a date, and he was always so calm and cool. But Kevin goes, "What can I get you guys?" And he goes, "She'd like sort of the sea bass, well done." And he goes, "Okay." And he goes, "Fella, do you want to write this down?" And he goes, "No, got it all up here." Waiters do that.
Yeah.
Because I always think about it in real life because they do it. And he goes, "Are you sure?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "I take a gin and tonic." And he goes, "Okay." He comes back. He goes, "All right, cream de cassis for the lady and spaghetti and meatballs for you." He goes, "No, sir. Hey, buddy, no. None of these are ours." He goes, "Can you write this down?" I'm just going to say it again. He goes, No, I got it. So he just kept bringing him the most ridiculous things. And then he goes, No, I ordered. He goes, "Don't tell me." And he goes, "I ordered." He goes, That's a salmon." No. Let me just tell you something. He goes, No. Let me guess. So Waiters Without a Pad. So now that's stuck in my head. So every time a waiter goes, "Just tell," I go, No, just write it fucking down because I know you're going to fuck up. And then I don't do my whole order because I go, I'm guessing how many you can handle. So if I say light cheese on this and that, that's all I'm giving you because I know you'll fuck up one of these. If I give you all 5 weird things I want, 2 will not be heard. So
Who with a different host coming in each week, and obviously these people come in, they're very famous, there are egos to navigate, there are certain things. Did everyone pretty much come in a playful state of mind, or were there people like, "Don't talk about this," or "This is weird," or there's
on SNL?
Yeah.
No one says anything. So you get there, and we got hired, and we did 4 shows at the end of a season. So picture like May shows or whatever, April, May. So Rob and I come in, and have a crummy table like this. This is probably what we had. It was like just a wood desk, and I don't want to pop the bubble. Did you puff it up like this is a great show with like
And our
great?
you mean our space
No, our
palace?
listeners know our desk is made of
No, the
wood.
show's great. I'm just saying it's a little dumpy in here. But so it was like
lot dumpy.
it was like this and a yellow legal pad and a box of pens. And they go, "There's your office. Go." And I'm like, what do we do? Like, I don't know how to write a sketch. And I thought they'd be coaching me, like there'd be a montage. And therefore he's a jolly good fellow, like new cast member. And no one cared. They're so in their world to do their shit, especially mid-season. Like, they just walk in, hey, okay, go in their office, they start writing, they start freaking out, Monday meeting. And no one tells you about meetings. You just have to ask, "Hey, is there something today?" "Oh, well, there's a Monday meeting." I didn't get told about rewrite meetings. So I was just sort of floundering around, and I'm writing a sketch 12 pages long. It's got 15 sets. I handed it in, they go, "We can't even." But it's the old days. You had to write it and hand it to the typist women, like on Mad Men or something, and they type you your sketch so it looks all perfect. But they said, "I'm just going to tell you, like, this is too many sets." And I don't know fucking anything. These are like the typists.
The typists are telling you how to write
Typist
your
like,
sketch.
I'm on page 6, and this is a fucking bomb, all right? Like, what are you thinking? And I probably shouldn't say anything. I'm like, "Yeah, you shouldn't say anything." And she's like, "Yeah, you're a horrible writer." And maybe I'm out of line. I'm like, "Yeah, you are."
Is there someplace we can get 200 monkeys? Can we get 200
I
monkeys
go,
in here?
Okay, the elephant we don't need for sure. But it was like that. So I go, "Oh," and then I talked to Lovitz. He was there. It was his final 2 shows, and he's like, "Too many sets." And I was like, "Thank you. Any feedback is appreciated." So we just had to sort of figure our way out. Conan took a little time. Odenkirk, they would sort of go, "Okay, I'll give you a few minutes here and there." But they had to worry about their own shit. And then I came back, and that's when Rock and Farley and Sandler came on that year. So I started to have my own little buddies and stuff, but you really felt like an outsider for a while.
I mean,
Boo-hoo.
it's weird though.
My book's called Boo Hoo. I'm changing it.
It's called "I'm Throwing This Mic in the Trash."
The mic throw, that was based on an emoticon I saw. You know the mic one where they go like,
Yeah, is it like that one?
yeah, it's funny.
That's great. The book's almost it's called Almost Interesting,
Yeah.
by the way, which is available everywhere you buy
somewhere.
books. Somewhere. But watching, I'm always interested to see who pops on the show and who doesn't, and who pops afterwards. Because Chris Rock, I don't feel like Chris Rock ever really popped when he was on SNL. It's kind of when he went away and did stand up for a couple of years, and he came back and made what is, I think, probably one of the most definitive stand-up. Bring the Pain is one of the most, because you know it seemed like he was trying to find his voice for a little bit, and he did some stuff that Nat X I always thought was a great sketch, but it wasn't really
It
until
wasn't a perfect place for him, and I 100% agree. Coming in, known as a great stand-up, not quite. He's got Al Franken. There couldn't be more diametrically opposite personalities, and Al was trying to put him in stuff right away, and then sort of gave up on him. I mean, and not fair to Al, but like. It just wasn't his total thing, No acting classes, like none of us really had that, but it wasn't his thing right then at that moment in time, and he was getting very frustrated, and they weren't giving him every break in the book, and he's channeling his stand-up into where to do it on Update or whatever, and when he left, he was very down, and I remember, because we were buds back then, and he had to sort of pick himself up and go do 2 years of stand-up on the road and just get the confidence back. I'm sure he's always great, but your own head, you're like, I just got let go of a show, from a show. So he came back with a monster special, which was surprising to some, but the ones that knew him were like, that's the Chris Rock that we know. That's great. And then from then on, always a highly, highly respected stand-up, very funny guy. But after the show was tough. I mean, I got Just Shoot Me, which was another sort of lark. Is that a word?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that a bird? So I go from there to, do you want your own show? Because you get like one free shot at your own show.
Yeah.
But if you miss, you don't. Arsenio, he did his own show, and then you don't get another huge network show right away. Sometimes you do, but I said, oh yeah. I go, I don't know. Is there great ideas? And then they had Just Shoot Me, and it was a pilot. And they were going to network upfronts, which you know what they are.
Yeah.
So that's a pilot that's made it through all the shit, and it's going to get on the show. So they're flying to New York with Laura San Giacomo to announce Just Shoot Me with the 4 cast members. And Brad Gray says, and Mark Gervitz, my managers, are like, hey, they produced it. And they go, will you watch this tape? They're going to pull it from the upfronts. They're not going to do it. And I'm like, oh, what happened? They go, it's just not 100% there. They go, watch the tape and see if you'd want to join. I was like, oh, shit. So I look at it. It's Steve Levitan, who's the writer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's great actors, George Segal, Winnie Malick, who's just
amazing.
phenomenal.
Incredible, yeah.
Cannot do a wrong move. And Enrico and Laura, I'm like, this looks like a great cast. It's a funny idea. What would I be, like an assistant or something? So they go, yeah, we do this. So I met with Levitan. We talked a few times. And I go, yeah, let's do it. And so it was a little surprising to take the 5th lead on a show that already had a ding against it because they got yanked from upfronts. But I go, I'm coming from the hardest place in the world. These people are all great actors, but I'm sort of like a comedian actor, which I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just I could stand out a little bit because they're all not exactly my age and doing the same thing. Like on SNL,
Right.
Sandler, all those guys are like, we're all the same. And I go, these guys are just seasoned, great comedic actors, and I can be a little goofier and stupider. And I go, I think this will work. And plus I don't have to carry the show, and I fucking can memorize my lines. Because it's hard to memorize a whole show. Oh my God. So they rewrite it, and Steve only gives me one line in the pilot. The truth was he wanted to reshoot the pilot, and they weren't letting him. And then they said if you add Spade, you can reshoot it. And I think I have to say, and I love Steve because we're still buddies, but at the beginning he was resistant, but he took me to reshoot it. And I think that was the reason. I think he liked me, but I don't think he thought the show needed me.
Right.
And because it's his show. So he's the one guy, I'm sure, going, I think it's fine. But NBC's saying add it, and Brad's saying add it. So we add me, and then I say I don't want to do it and he goes, we'll work you in more the third or fourth show. And I said, my fans will bail. Like, if they see, oh, he's really not on the show, like, they'll tune in, once or twice. So it was tough there for a second. Like, I didn't know what to do. And then we added a little chunk where I meet some models and I'm trying to evaluate them, and it's just all the stupid shit. But at least gave me a little foothold to say, I'm in the show, I'm part of these 5, and we're all going to do something in it. And then it worked right away. Like, it got on a good time slot. And it was, I think, over the years, it turned into a show that was respected. I loved it, but it wasn't like it was number one once. It was one summer. It was number one week in reruns. That count? That counts.
Yes.
Sure.
Fuck, it counted to me. I didn't. I don't give a shit but when you think about it, you're up against Seinfeld, Friends, Frasier, Will and Grace. Like, there's so many good shows. ER. How the fuck are you going to be number one?
Those were all NBC shows. What a different time it is now.
Damn.
What a different time it is now.
We were a good show, but I don't think we were, like, in the conversation as the best show, because in another era, we might have been. But when those are the best shows, like, they don't even get to us.
It was such a smart. It's such a smart move to not run out and try to build a show just around you, because just like exactly like you said,
It's the only smart thing I did.
you can sort of blend in, and if the show doesn't work, no one's going to go, oh, that was Spade's fault. They go,
then you get your own show. You go, well, we can try.
we liked him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was such a, because then over time, you really were a part of the show.
Right. And then they make it even, and then, you're a valuable fifth of the show, and then everyone gets their stuff. And then after that, jumped on 8 Simple Rules, just more to work. That was the John Ritter one.
Right.
They came to me and said, do you want to do it? And I said, would never want to replace John Ritter, one of my own heroes growing up. Like, that's sort of why I wanted to do sitcoms, John Ritter and Three's Company and all that. So they said, well, we need someone. I go, I would never play his part, maybe an uncle or something. So we talked about that. And then James Garner they were talking to, I go, he's so much more respected than me. I go, let him go in first and take the hits. Do you think you're going to replace John Ritter? Do you think it's right?
Right.
But you can't talk back to James Garner because he's too good.
Right.
So he did that, and he got all the articles, and he handles it gracefully. And then 2 weeks later, I sneak. And then they can't do the same article again, They're like, this motherfucker, I see what he's doing. But they came to me. I didn't call them. And they said they got calls from people going, hey, can my guy come in and be John Ritter next week?
Ugh.
And they asked me, and I said, I don't know if it's tasteless or whatever. But the way we did it, I was just an uncle. So they just wanted to keep the show going. Did that for 2 years. And we almost got picked up. If we got picked up that last year, I would have cashed in, because that was going to be a full syndicated show.
Oh, yeah.
And it still is, but we had 88, or we had 85 or something. So
You just
wasn't
barely
quite.
shy. Yeah.
One more, it would have been, I'm a Yankee dude. I would have been John Bonet out there with a baton. Hey, fucking pageant winner.
I always found it interesting with Hollywood Minute that, this was obviously in a time before social media, but I had heard that, because when you first start out doing comedy, you're just used to people not really giving a shit about what you say. Like, you don't really affect anything. And then you start making fun of people, and it's really connecting. But then all of a sudden you become famous, and now you're kind of around these people that you're making fun of. And now do you all of a sudden feel more accountable?
I think of that sometimes with Amy Schumer now, because, there's always someone getting famous like Tina or Amy, where they're great comedians, and then they're hanging with the people, and you're like, do you still shit on everyone? Like, I was talking about the Kardashians, which is the favorite thing to talk about, on Conan or Jimmy Fallon the other night. And I'm like, of course, just fucking shitting on them to be funny, because it's so teed up. But you're at the same place. You always see these people. Forget the Kardashians. Like, you see legit celebrity stars, and you don't know what to do. But Chris Rock does it. He's going to go out in the Oscars and rip on everyone.
Joan Rivers always did it.
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais did it.
There's the Kathy Griffin way, and then there's like Chris Rock, who Chris Rock gets away with it because maybe he's so good or something. Like, you don't see Jennifer Lopez like going, fuck you to Chris Rock. Right. He's sort of in this higher echelon of comics in respect where they like him and no one's going, how dare you say that shit. They have to sort of eat it. There's other comics where they'd say, fuck you to you.
Right.
So I'm somewhere in the middle where some people know that that's what I do, but I don't do it exactly anymore. Like when I offended you earlier and said, did you do stand-up? Which was rude to me because people forget that even I do. Like,
it's a fair question if you don't know.
Shows.
It doesn't matter if you don't know. It doesn't bother me at all. I never
Jon
expect.
Stewart does stand-up, and I forget. And I did gigs with him, but I go, oh, we did a gig because I was on the show last time. He goes, remember that gig we did in D.C.? I was like, oh, yeah. I'm like, fucking Jon Stewart, that's right, you do stand-up. But people, when I go on the road, they don't really, I mean, I'm on Just Shoot Me, then Rules of Engagement, and then, movie grown-ups. They don't really equate that to stand-up. So people come to see me, and that's why I can't even be that dirty because it's a TV crowd, people know me from PG-13 stuff.
Right.
I can't do my pussy joke. I got some good ones. I've tried it, and everyone goes, what the fuck is this guy talking about? They really, reel back, and I go, hey, come on. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not
backing away.
I'm like, Dice, I'm jackhammering this chick.
Well, you do Vegas a handful of times a year,
I do Vegas. I still do the Mirage. I do it with Ray Romano lately.
Oh, he's great.
It's great. The Mirage is great. It's fun. Ray is another one that, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people forget he's a stand-up. He's a really good stand-up.
He's an exceptional stand-up and a great.
He's very casual. He's out there. He's killing. I'm like, God damn, he's got some good jokes.
Yeah, and also it's because I think he was he on the Sam Young comedian special as you?
No, is he on that?
There was a Young comedian special. I think Carvey hosted it.
Oh, wow.
And it was Ray. The lineup was Ray Romano, Andy Kindler, Janine, and Judd Apatow.
Wow.
And I think maybe Bill Bellamy.
Oh, Apatow was on one of those.
Yeah, Apatow was on one of those.
They forget
too.
he's a stand-up for sure. Now he's doing.
But
it
he's been doing.
fun.
He started doing it again. Yeah, he started doing it again. But but his and even at that time he was like 34 when he did the Young comedian specials. Before
It's right after Belzer. What about the Kinison? What about the great ones?
Yeah.
that was the 9th annual Young comedian special.
What a monster!
Hosted by Dangerfield,
which is huge already.
Kinison, Saget, Rita Rudner.
Was it Stephen Wright now?
Stephen Wright was.
No, he wasn't that show.
No, he was Louis Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then a couple other Bob Nelson. You remember Bob Nelson? Yeah.
He was sort of predicted as the big one.
Well, you could tell that he was a guy that fucking slaughtered wherever he went because he did those big characters, the balloons up in the thing. Number 72. Oh shit, 27. Like he did and he would do this thing where he would blow bubbles and pretend to be a goldfish and eat the bubbles, and it was just like the silliest. He was definitely. I think they looked at Bob Nelson as like, you're the next Robin Williams.
Right. We got all these other guys, but you will be the one blowing
and
up.
Kinison and everyone did well after that. Everyone went on to become almost everyone.
Almost shocking that with the heat of Kinison. I mean, that's all I sort of remember. But all those people are famous. Rita Rudner's a great joke writer.
Yeah.
I worked with her in Vegas. But
she still has a show in Vegas.
To have everybody do great.
Yeah.
Almost impossible.
But Kinison was definitely... I think maybe if Kinison hadn't been on that special, maybe Bob Nelson would have been the guy that popped up. But Kinison was just so... He was such a torrential force.
God damn, and out of nowhere where people are like, who's this guy? And the funny thing, when the heat's not even on him, it's all the focus on who's this Bob Nelson guy? And then you go, wait a second. This guy's great. Yeah. I got to open for Kinison once in it's not in the book, this story, because it's good. No, there's good stories in there. I don't know if people believe me when I'm saying. I was at Finny Bones. They all have funny names. All comedy clubs, Gutbusters. It should be like, which one of these is not a comedy club?
Yuck Yucks is Canada.
Yuck Yucks, Gutbusters, Side Splitters, all real. I was at, it was called Finny Bones because Michael Finney was a comedian who you might have worked with. Comedy magician. Anyway, so I wanted, Kinison was there, so I asked if I could MC, which wasn't even opening.
Right.
You MC'd and brought up an opener, and you had to stay there all night. But after the show, I gave Kinison and Robert Townsend.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Could they be both in the same show? Maybe Townsend was middling. So before he blew up, so I drive in my 72 Volvo to Alpha Beta to get Kinison a case of Heineken. And then we drove to the comedy condo. And then
The cum-covered comedy condo.
yes, and he had a big Ziploc full of Blola, and it was a solid gack attack. And he whipped it out, and Robert Townsend said, "Can you take me home?" He didn't like it, so I drove him home. I'm like, "Oh sure, pussy." So, and then of course, I came right back because I wanted to dive into it, and he goes, "What you want some of this?" And I go, "No," and he goes, "Okay, you can stay all night." I'm like, why'd I say no? But I think he thought I was going to bogart. I go, "I don't think we can go through this kilo tonight. I think I'm fine with my tiny nose." I'm not like, shoo, Frosty the Snowman.
You're like a goldfish. It's like a sprinkle.
Yeah, like sprinkle allow me. I'll stay up and talk. So, I was like a hamster on the. So I didn't do any, which sucked. I actually thought about pinching it.
Just
Because there
to
was
see-
so much. I was like, what if I just took like a gram?
What was he like?
I think he was celebrating the Wednesday second show.
Oh, as you do.
It's a big deal.
He's like, what a great night. I'm like, yeah, we should celebrate. I mean, so that he was just having a great time. And I didn't really have any relationship with him. I'm just sort of trying to brag that I met him. But I met him, and it was so exciting as a comic. And being, any town you're in other than L.A., you fucking freak if you saw someone you liked. And being a comedy guy, Stephen Wright came in. I couldn't believe it. I saw him. He was great. And you can't believe you're like right there. I was at the Comedy Store last night, and people are going on. Everyone's really good. And I thought, these people, it's all headliners in a row. It is a great deal when you just, if you like comedy and you're suddenly like, that guy Sebastian, you know that is?
Yeah.
Kills. So good. And I was like, shit, it was, God, I forgot his name. That guy went on. I went on. Sebastian went on. Isla Schlesinger.
Mm-hmm. Eliza Schlesinger. Yeah.
Great. So I go, look at this. Even me, I was watching going, this is fun to watch great comedy. Just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Comedy Store's had a real resurgence.
It's good. I only thought of that because I think of Kinison. Like, I think of seeing people in person, and I know he was always there, and Steve Wright. But when I got to LA and I tried to get in there, I'm like, all these guys are in the same fucking place? Couldn't believe it. Improv at Leno. Seinfeld was on that little chalkboard. In one night, I was shocked. I was like,
Well, there's only a couple of you go to New York. There's like 30 comedy clubs.
No game in town. It's like Improv, Comedy Store.
Yeah.
No Laugh Factory, right, back then?
Not back then. I don't think. I think the Laugh Factory. Well, the Laugh Factory started in the 80s, didn't it? I don't know when the Laugh Factory started, but it's been around as long as I can remember. I've been in LA since '88, and I feel like.
That's right around when I came in. There was a Westwood Comedy Store I didn't know.
Yes,
about.
there was Westwood Comedy Store and a Santa Monica Improv. And there was Igby's. Do you remember Igby's on the west side?
I do love Igby's.
Igby's is now a strip club.
Is that Plan B?
It's
or
Plan
whatever?
B, yeah. Yeah.
Are they open
save.
from 10 to 6?
The
The
Monday
brunch
through Friday.
there is unreal. The brunch is just cereal. It's worth the drive. But Dana Carvey auditioned for SNL there. And I never got to the Westwood Comedy. I was too young. I mean, like, I had no connection. I didn't even know where it was.
It was only open for like 6 months.
Oh, is that true? Is that what it was?
Yeah, they opened it in the basement of... I was in college at the time, and they opened the Westwood Comedy Store downstairs. There was a bar upstairs.
Yeah.
I think the place is called Maloney's now. At least it was the last time I saw it. But
Probably.
there was
Sounds right.
there was a downstairs, and so they opened the Comedy Store. But I remember... So Westwood is built around UCLA.
Yeah.
And so Westwood thrives because of UCLA. So that I seem to remember they opened the Comedy Store like in May when everyone's getting out of school. And so for the summer, Westwood was dead.
Yes.
So no one was going to the basement of this bar that no one went and even knew about. And so I think it lasted for a handful of months there.
You know Covert, Alan Covert, Sandler's producer, he was the manager of the Improv down there. The Santa Monica Improv.
Yeah.
That was a great one. I remember. I went on there.
They did a lot. They recorded a lot of those Evening at the Improvs were at the Santa Monica Improv.
I saw one the other day where I have Bugs Bunny jeans on. I have pants.
That was a casual
and there's
day.
a Bugs Bunny if that's not like semi-gay enough, it was my friends. I wore his pants. There were so many red flags.
Did you go in the bathroom and trade pants?
Sort of. I mean, I go, those are cool. Why I thought they were cool, I don't know. They were not cool. And then he goes, you can wear them. And I was like, I'll wear them for my big debut on Evening at the Improv. And it was jeans with a iron-on Bugs Bunny right here in the thigh. And no one stopped me. This is because I don't have a dad. I'm telling you. I don't have, like, all the guy stuff I should have because my dad wasn't there to smoke a cigarette when I was a kid and go, get that fucking shit off. Because I didn't, it's all mom. And my dad left when I was 4. So it's just, that's where I had, she gave me a present, this is stupid, but of all of our class pictures for us as kids.
Yeah.
And my brother got his full class picture on a pillow, which is because my mom's idea. And she thinks it's a great idea. And he's like, great, because he can throw it in the closet. And then my brother got a coffee mug with his class picture. I got a T-shirt with mine ironed on here, and it said Dave on it. In case you forgot, this guy was this guy. And so my brothers were sort of horrified, but I was like, this might be fun. Because I didn't know. I didn't have my dad there to go, what are you giving him that shit for? He's never wearing it. But she goes, why don't you wear it to school? I go, that might be fun. And so I did. And right when I left the house, just male chromosome, whatever's left in my head goes, maybe throw a shirt over it. Like, maybe throw a flannel in case it's not the coolest fucking thing in the world.
Right.
So I put this, like, flannel button down, but it's under it. So I go to kickball, and I'm leaning there before school starts, and I'm, like, checking out the ladies, catching up on the latest gossip headlines. And this is, like, 5th grade. And then I go, oh, it might be a good time to unveil my super cool shirt I'm proud of. And then I go, pew! I open one button. No problem. Pew, pew. I start to pull it down. You can just see a little bit of my feathered hair and like one of my tooth that's super sideways. And someone goes, queer! And I go, what? And they go, oh my God, do you have a picture of yourself on your shirt? I go, no. And then it started all hitting me. Bad idea, abort the mission. And I was like, I ran back to my homeroom and dove under my desk, and the whole school came.
Oh.
And it was like with torches going, show us the shirt. I'm like, it's not even, they can't even iron a picture on that. It's so crazy with it. And I'm like, that's all they can do to T-shirts. So the whole school turned on me. It took a year to pull out of that one.
Oh my God.
My own picture. I didn't know.
I'm hearing that and getting chills because I have so many of the same stories. And I was only lucky enough that we would move every so often, so there would be a reset button.
And you'd screw it up again.
And I would screw it up again.
Was it no dad, or what was it?
It wasn't. No, I mean, my dad was in the picture, but my parents were divorced, and I was also primarily raised by my mom, and very nerdy kid, and I just was into stuff that the other kids weren't into, and I did not relate well to other kids. Did you ever have a relationship with your dad?
Yeah. I mean, we saw him about once a year, and give me a Nerf football for Christmas. Thought he was my hero again. Oh, it's 2 colors. Oh my God, you spoil me, you prick. Because he would never give us child support. Nothing. No alimony. And then he just popped by. He always told me he had a silver Porsche. He goes, I'm buying a silver Porsche. So I tell everyone at school my dad has a silver Porsche. Tragic. Everyone's going to start crying.
Man.
And then he never had it. And then he had a dune buggy once. I'm like, I thought it was cool. But my mom's like, this is why I get rid of this guy. He's got a. Do you get it? He drives a dune buggy. He's 48. Do you understand? And then when he would pick us up, we'd be like, "Yay!" We'd like, "Mom, you're so fucking boring. Dad's the best." He took us out in the dune buggy. She's like, "Yeah, he's a real prince." But he's also boning every chick in town. He left us just high and dry. Just walked out one day.
Oh man!
And then when I started getting known, my brother started Kate Spade. He started going around to bars like. He'd come to comedy clubs with me, like really surfacing, because I was sort of a local guy, like, get a few drinks out of it. And then with the girls, he'd talk about Kate Spade. You need a purse, I'll take care of you. And so he had every angle covered. And then I wanted my dad around, so I moved in with him in a little 1-bedroom dump. And then he was so weird, we're like buddies, because he wasn't around, so... And he wasn't even a great dad. He'd be like, hey, can I borrow some cash? I'm like, don't you owe me $100,000 in child support?
Gotta buy a dune buggy.
It's tricky. Gotta get some pinstripes on the buggy.
Gas ain't free.
gas ain't free. I got the sheepskin.
If I had my wallet with me, you would see that it is a Jack Spade wallet.
Oh, you have Jack Spade.
I do
That's
have
my
Jack
brother.
Spade.
Yeah.
I know.
Did we talk about this?
No, we've never
Okay.
talked about this, but I'm a big
It's
fan.
Andy and Katie did Kate Spade, and then they and he was starting his men's line, and he goes, I don't want to call it Andy Spade because Katie gets so much shit for being Kate Spade, so he called it Jack. 'Cause that's what he was going to name his kid if it was a boy and it was a girl. So he goes, I'll call the company Jack Spade. And then when they bought up Kate Spade, they sold it, but he wanted to keep Jack Spade because that was fun. It was more manageable because it wasn't so huge, you know. But he didn't, and now we started Sleepy Jones. That's a store for pajamas and nighttime stuff. Andy and I are doing that, and he's doing. I think he and Katie are starting another company finally.
That's awesome.
Yeah, after Kate Spade blew up, I mean, they just got lucky. I think it was too hard for two people from Arizona. We worked in a clothing store. Andy ran the men's side and Katie ran the women's. That's how they met, and they got along great. And they're both very smart in that world. I'm not, obviously. And he says I dress like I'm from Hollywood, which is like the quietest burn because it doesn't.
No, anything with the word Hollywood attached to it is never positive.
So my mom goes, "Oh, don't get all Hollywood on me." I go, "What the fuck?" I know it's a burn. I can't quite nail what it means, but I am Hollywood, so it doesn't matter. But Andy, so anyway, so they did that, and then it just got. They started that and it got too big, you know, just two people, and he's dealing with like union bosses going, "Hey, Andy, we're gonna break your fucking legs." He's like, can we sell this fucking thing and move on?
Just making purses and
Yeah, we're
glasses.
making purses, guys.
Really have to-
It was like dream come true and then too good. And then suddenly you have 200 employees in 15 stores. You're like, take it over. Somebody takes it over.
You know, whenever I would see you at a party in the old days when I still used to go out and drink and go to parties and
Yeah,
stuff.
you were fun. You hit a wall.
That's what I kept saying.
Yeah, be 60 and still have fun like me.
Hey, come on! Get in a dune buggy!
Jaeger bombers! They're like, sir, please leave. It's embarrassing.
No, it's not!
Do you have your ID?
My face on a shirt!
Yeah, look at me. I wore it out. Do you have your ID? We think you're too old to be here. Oh, I've never been carded for that.
You always seem so comfortable in public situations. You always seemed like you would always just be kind of standing there hanging out, and everyone would always kind of swarm around you, and there'd just be like a ton of gorgeous people swarming around
That's
you.
nice. Yeah, because I yammer too much, but
It just seemed like he doesn't really give a shit. He can take this or leave this. It doesn't really seem like he gives a shit. And when you seem like you don't give a shit, but you have to really not give a shit. You can't pretend to not give a shit because people can sniff that out.
Yeah.
It really seemed like you just didn't. You're like
I sort of give a shit, obviously, but I do have. Sometimes my act gets too casual. Just my act. I mean, my real life, I'm obviously barely like a fucking blip of my.
Maybe that's Arizona.
My BP is like 1/6. It's like my friends are like, "Are you even alive?" Because I have such low energy. But I always say I'm pacing it out, and they go, "For what? What's the big finale?" Like, you're boring at night too. Are you waiting for something? But in my act, I'm like, so Todd Phillips, I think the director saw it the other day, and he goes, "You're somewhere." It was something like, "You're somewhere between I can't be bothered," and it was some bullshit about describe my act perfectly. I was like, "Yeah, we did a big show. You know, we did a show the other night with Norm Macdonald, Schwartzen, Schneider, and Sandler. We did.
Oh my God!
We did. I did a night at the Comedy Store to sneak Adam on because he wants to practice. So I brought him into the Comedy Magic Club, which is a great place.
Hermosa Beach.
And he goes, "I'll just do a couple minutes before you." We just did this movie called The Do-Over in the summer, and he kept going, "I want to do stand-up again. I want to do stand-up again." So I go, "Just come when I'm doing a gig and just sneak on before me, and you can split my time or do whatever." Again, I don't want to go that long. So he goes, "No, I'll just do 5. I'll do 10." So he comes on. He does about 25 at Comedy Magic, does great. He has a guitar. He has a guy playing a piano. Writes all these new songs, does some stand-up, and then we do Comedy Store. Those guys go on. That was really fun because it was like sort of SNL, you know, sort of like whatever. And then he killed again. He had about 30. So then we booked a theater in San Diego 2 weeks ago, and it was great. That's what the Hanukkah song he just released. That was at the theater. So we all did about 25, and then I think he did an hour at the end.
It is pretty.
Oh, wow.
It was fun. So we might go on the road. We might go do it on the road.
That's fantastic.
That'd be really fun. Yeah.
I mean, when people know who you are, I feel like the expectation if you just turn up is like, oh, well, this guy's famous. He better be extra funny.
Yeah. I mean, that was fun. I mean, the San Diego one, the ones with me weren't announced like it was Adam, but the fans for me are really nice, And I already said Swartzen's going to be on the show and Schneider, so they knew what they're getting. It's sort of the same pool of people that would like all of us, or not like all of us, so they don't come. So they would like Adam because it's always the same. It's the same demo or whatever. And then the San Diego one was 3,000-seater, so it was really fun because it was more like concerty. Like you see those little like Kings of Comedy, those weird ones where like everyone's going crazy. It was more like that. Like they go crazy, and it's so much different than a club because you have to even play it a little differently because they're either really noisy or they're like laughing long and it goes to the back of the room and you got to wait a second because you don't want to step on your own stuff. And Sandler was killing so hard because he had new songs, but then he did the Hanukkah song at the end, which I'm like, buddy, if you're ever worried about closing, pick any song you've done in the past, even like Medium Pace or any of those old ones off his old albums, and you can always get off it. There was no problem. He was nervous. We wrote a lot of stuff.
Something that's come up a lot on the podcast is I always talk about. Well, I'll bring up like movies, like there's some movies that you shouldn't watch again from when you were younger because they don't always hold up.
That's true.
But when people go, yeah, but there's some movies that really hold up, like Tommy Boy still totally holds up. Like it's been mentioned a couple of times on the podcast
nice,
where people say it's still.
I do have to say that I got really lucky to be in that one because I don't think I ever would have been cast in it if I wasn't big enough to get a lead in a movie. But Lauren saying, write a movie for David and Chris, and because I like how they are on The Office. That's where Lauren was really smart. I mean, he had a deal with Paramount, and he did Wayne's World, and then he goes, do one with these guys. And it turned into, like a movie about brake pads. I mean, we couldn't even pitch that. You know what I mean? Two guys who are in Ohio selling brake pads. One guy you've sort of heard of, Farley. The other guy you probably have not heard of. And, we'll take $30 million. So we backed into it. We backed into a green light. It was already a green light movie. They just said, yeah, do it next summer. So they worked on it, wrote it, and then we wrote on the fly. We were shooting it, just no pressure, making up jokes. And I'm really, really glad to be a part of something like that. Like when I was a kid, there was Caddyshack, and there's movies I really liked. So when kids or even adults say, that falls into like one they really like. That's great.
Did you guys click right away when you first met?
Yeah, for sure. I talk about in there the first time I met him because I didn't know him. I just saw his photo in SNL, like he was getting hired or they were looking to see him, and then I heard they hired him, and he had the most hype about him. I mean, Chris Rock came on too, and he had a different hype. He's Eddie Murphy's buddy, and he's great. He's the new Eddie Murphy, and then Chris was more, he's just hilarious, big guy, does all these great characters and stuff. A lot of energy. But I didn't really know what to expect. It didn't sound that exciting to me. To be honest, like, all right, whatever. And then met him the first day in the hotel, first day of work. And he's like, how are you? He slapped his head around. Chris Farley, Gallagher Tent and Awning. He always used to say he's from somewhere else. We're in a convention here, and I got $20 left on my expense account. I'd like to buy one of you pretty little ladies a drink. How about them apples? That's what he'd say to girls. At my Dave Spade, my friend, he's in charge of corporate. We're here. We're with the regional sales crew. They're a crazy bunch. They're going to meet us here in about 45. If you could stick around, he just say bullshit to girls. They just stare at him. They have no idea what's going on. I heard the whiskey over there in New York. That's his rap. But he would just say stupid stuff like that. So immediately, nice guy, like wasn't like a cutthroat guy. Like, who the fuck are you on the show? And so we walked over to the show, and he was nervous. I was nervous. We just like that. That's when it felt newer because you're like, okay, he's starting with me. Like we're both new.
First day of school.
Yeah, and then Adam came a little later that year, but Chris Rock was there. I talked to him right away just because I heard he was good, and we got along. And we're all the new guys, so that's when you get your little group. And then I knew Dana a little bit. I knew Kevin Nealon a little bit, and Myers I did not know, but. They were all definitely very cool, but didn't have time to baby you.
Yeah, I mean, if I would imagine it's one of those jobs. Like, well, if you get on the show, you obviously need to be good enough to be on the show, and you have to fucking figure it out. And if you don't figure it out, then you don't belong here.
I don't know if I was on the need to be good enough part because I think I was over my head. I was like a high school guy that goes to the pros. I was like, but I wasn't LeBron. a good high school basketball player that went to the pros. I'm like, you have to be LeBron to fit right in. I was
Right.
like, oh shit, I'm pretty good, but I was in fucking middle act, guys. Like,
I know, but there was
headliner.
something about your voice on the show that kind of, the '90s. What I feel like happened in the '90s of comedy was sort of like comedy became snarkier and more more pop culture self-aware than it had been.
Maybe
before.
it was there for that because.
And that's where I think, but that voice that you had, I think, kind of helped define that era.
I will say that Hollywood Minute was. I mean, it wasn't the hugest sketch in there, but it was sort of the time when it was People magazine and no one was being mean to celebrities, and no one would dare. Like, it was all People where they're like, "Isn't it great? This person's so great," and I was like, "He's a fucking idiot." And they're like, "Wait, what?" So to come in with that, to be an unknown and be like, "Who are these assholes?" Can this guy stop doing movies? He's annoying.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Whoa, I was just saying that the other day." Like, but you're saying it to your friends, but now this is like some guy on TV
It was
saying
almost exactly the same time that Ben Stiller started doing basically those reflexive about the entertainment industry sketches on the Ben Stiller show that were it was the same. There was a movement happening.
Yeah, Rolling Stone did give me starting the 70s called They Want Their Haircut Back, or whatever that thing was.
Yeah.
Because I used to do it in Hollywood Minute. I don't even know if that's true, but I know it was around then.
People still do the
God
X
damn,
is
it's
calling.
still called. Everyone's
Yeah.
calling. They should be texting by now.
Someone Snapchatted.
Hey, the 70s Snapchatted you, and then it's not the same, I
The
guess.
70s just DM'd you.
The 70s Snapchatted, but it's going to be gone in 24 hours. It's only 10
70s
seconds
just sent
long.
you a dick pic. Oh, they did? I want to see it.
You can't see the dick. It's all bush.
Oh, yeah. I had a big bush going there. Just FYI.
I mean, did you with Farley? What was your kind of day-to-day relationship? Did you guys hang out a lot as friends?
Yeah. That was the fun of it. I mean, sometimes I get scared. I talk about Farley a lot, and I think lately because the book and he's in it, and it's about my life that I do. But there's times when because a lot of people on the street ask me about him, and it's sort of a double-edged sort of.
Sure.
They're so happy to talk about him, and they're so excited that because I remember Dan Aykroyd was very gracious to talk about Belushi because me and Farley would ask him about Belushi, and when he'd come by SNL. And I never even thought for a second, because I'm a selfish fucking asshole, that maybe he doesn't want to talk about his friend that died of an overdose. And it's hard for him. But he was so nice about it. So I thought, and Dave Grohl, I'm sure gets it about Kurt Cobain.
Absolutely.
It's just people just are interested. And the guy's not here anymore, so they want to ask. But part of me gets is a little weird about it because you also do other stuff and you don't want to be this guy like out there dining out on stories. But it is the book, and it is time. And
it's very personal, too.
And it's very personal. So I don't mind it in real life because no one's being malicious. No one says anything bad about him. They all are positive. So I like to hear that. And so I will talk to people about it, or they just say on Instagram nice things about him, which is always good to hear. But, he was a good day-to-day buddy. He was a good
Well, I'm sure they're also
cracker.
kind of digging around for nuggets, too.
Yeah, I mean...
And because I'm sure some people probably want to... I mean, there's so many different ways that people I can see coming at it. Like, can you want to talk about addiction? Or do you want to talk about this? Or do you want to talk about this? And it's like, can I just not? I mean, did you...
Or some people try to dig deep. They see on the street. I'm like, I'm not talking to you about this. You know what I mean?
we're out in front of a mall.
They ask
Like,
really
can I just-
deep questions. I go, get the fuck out of here.
Go back in the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, I've saved those answers for TMZ. Yeah, get back in the cheesecake fact.
So does it really just sort of depend on them? Does it just sort of depend on where you're at the time as to whether or not you'll talk
I mean, no, most people just go, love Farley, or Farley's great, or they like Tommy Boy, or something like that, which is all, I'll take it all day. I'll never be one of those people that gets sick of that shit because, people like, they say bye-bye. They used to say the bye-bye sketch, Meanwhile, that was my whole goal of life in SNL. Get something people say. Be one of those sketches that catches on. And bye-bye. Saw it at Burger King when you leave. It says bye-bye. And I'm like, oh, my God. So that was something people already said, to be honest. But to highlight it in a sketch and then people connect you with it is nice. So people say stuff. I don't care. I think it's nice.
But you put a lot of of that stuff's in the book, and people want to hear about it. But is it almost as kind of like a?
There's a Dirty Chris story in there that they wanted me to add that I never told. So there's stuff in there. I mean, I didn't want to do too much about that. But when I talk about all of SNL, every year I was there. I go each year, what happened, how I got on, what sketches I did, who I thought was cool. When Sinead O'Connor ripped up the picture of the Pope, where I was standing, how I, stuff like that is. Some stuff would be less interesting to people like growing up, crazy stepdad, went nuts, all those things. But that's more people like that and less about SNL.
Right.
And then more people like other stuff. I talk about losing my virginity. I did too much coke in college, and once I had to go to the hospital. Stuff like that is just sort of whatever, funny stories. And then there's stuff you sort of get. I do a whole chapter about Tommy Boy just because I get asked about it a lot.
Well, I also think people forget. I think it is kind of a weird thing to. I assume it's a very weird thing to deal with death and fame at the same time because people do forget that you're a human being, and they forget that Chris was a human being, and so they see a very one-dimensional representation. They go, "Oh my God, was that Chris?" And I think they just they because of how you are presented to them on a two-dimensional screen, they forget this is a person who had a life, and these are people and humans, and so I think a lot of people don't ever really think about that part of it. Did you have to just go away for months to get away from everyone?
It was hard at the beginning, but it was it got better with time. And his brothers I'm friends with, but one really looks like Chris, reminds me of him. So it took about 2 years to start hanging out with them again because families have mannerisms they share,
right?
And I'd be like, oh my God, it's just like him, so weird. But overall, it just got easier over time.
Sure.
I could talk about with Adam and those guys, and we did those gigs the other night, and Adam was like, wouldn't fucking Farley have a blast here tonight? And it almost makes you cry because you forget there's another guy that was there with him every day, knew him very well, and how much fun he would have with that whole show. We were all backstage. There's a huge crowd. We were all together again. So it's definitely a common subject I hear about, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all.
Do you know for sure if you guys are going to do more road
I don't
gigs?
know. We're talking about it. Adam says he wants to, and if we sync everybody up. Our movie we did isn't out on Netflix till summer. He might do one in between, but it just sounded like so much fun. Like, why not? We should have done it with grown-ups,
Yeah.
We